Oh, what do we have here? This is my new nightmare. I hope not. I don't think it is. This is a 2013 Toyota Camry. I believe it is an SE. Yep, with the big 2.5 4-banger. And I picked it up yesterday from a local independent car dealer. Kind of fun. It's going to be replacing the '03 Expedition that my daughter's been driving for about 6 years now, which has gone pretty well. But as rusty as that thing is, it's getting pretty long in the tooth, and it's got a few things that keep breaking on it. So we got a little bit of work to do on this. The dealer allowed me to hook my Pro S to it and scan it. Had a whole bunch of codes, but none in the engine and transmission. It drove pretty good. Biggest issue with it is the brakes are squooshy, really squooshy. It's got 177,000 miles on it or so. Got the Carfax. It was a New Jersey rental for the first couple of years of its life, and then it was sold down here in Baton Rouge to a couple of different people. So it's had some dings and dents and scratches and beats and bangs. Typical stuff, nothing structural that I can see. But as you can see, one of the things, it's got gangsta tint on it. And this is ridiculous. You know, that's got to go. I mean, it's got another year on the inspection, but you can't even see out of that garbage. So we're going to get rid of that. And it wasn't done terribly well, as you can see. Yeah. They really nailed that gap. Yeah, let's see. There's a bunch of other gaps along the, yeah, as you can see the gap in here. It was not done well at all. So I'm going to at least get the front windows undone. I'm a little afraid of this back one. It seems like it was applied fairly well in certain places. There's no bubbles, but I'm afraid to take that off and risk ripping up the defroster. But at a minimum, these front side windows are coming off because that's stupid. So a little oil leak, I think, was coming from the pan gasket. Nothing terrible. The valve cover gasket seemed okay. It's got a fairly good recent history of oil changes and maintenance. Nothing too out of the ordinary here. I mean, it's been cleaned because it was at a dealer. No major. Nothing too major. But, yeah, so we're going to, I believe, get this thing up on a lift and take a little bit better look at it. I tried to find the transmission dipstick on this thing. It's got an automatic, as far as I can tell, but I couldn't find it, so it may be one of those that doesn't have a dipstick, which, since I don't see any documentation of a tranny change ever being done, that's going to be one of my first orders of business, is get that fluid out of there and get a new filter in it. But yeah, she drives pretty good. I'm debating whether I want to try to polish these headlights or just get new ones. This one's broke, as you can see. I may just replace them. She doesn't suck in right. And this is a little floppy. But it's probably from one of the little shunts it's had in its life. It looks like this is an original headlight because it's really crummy, and that this one has been on there for several years, but not as long as the other one. And yeah, you can see where that's supposed to be and where it isn't on that one. So, little things, nothing major. It's not a, I mean, like I said, it drove good. The interior is not too bad. You know, cloth seats, leather accents. You know, nothing too terrible. A few little, like some wear marks and stuff, but everything works. And like I said, it had a bunch of codes when I first looked at it, so I was able to use that to dicker a little bit. Saved a few bucks. And then after we bought the car and we're heading out, I hooked up the scan tool to it and deleted all the codes, and none of them came back, which was kind of nice on the whole trip home. So maybe we got a little lucky there. Yeah, we got no tools, so I gotta go to a pick apart and see if I can find some jacks and stuff. It does have a spare, which actually has air in it. Nothing major going on there. They cleaned it, which is a bummer because it had a bunch of weird junk shit in here. I was looking forward to seeing that, but it looks like they kept it. That's okay. But yeah, these little guys I think are supposed to be up here. We'll figure out how to put those back on. They don't look broken. We'll see. But yeah, so here's the new project. It's been off for some reason, because that's supposed to be behind the cover, but we'll get that fixed as we move. And yeah, go from there. But yeah, so now I'm going to get this thing up on a lift. Come on, there we go. And start looking around underneath. Alright, first thing I can see is the old battery hold down is a little less than optimal. It wasn't hooked at the bottom. Get that baby back where it's supposed to be. There we go. Very nice. That's not going anywhere. Alright. Do a quick air filter check. Yeah, it's kind of crap, so we need one of those. Let's see if we can get to the cabin air filter. Now this comes apart. There it is. Yeah. Wasn't too bad. Let me go get a light. Alright, let's see what we got here. Oh boy. Well, I don't think it looks quite as bad as the one in the Honda was. Let's see. Come here. I need a handle. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Yeah, that's horrible. Let's see if this is a Toyota part. Does not say, but I could wager that's been in there a while. We need one of those. Not surprising. Alright, let's get a mat line, get down underneath this thing and see what we got. Alright, well, we're underneath the front end now. And it appears my leakage is coming from the oil filter housing. So I guess that's good. That shouldn't be a big deal. I don't see anything coming from up above, which is nice. No leaks from the trans, also nice. We'll see. I'm gonna have to look at the brakes. We'll get the wheels off in a bit. The rotors don't look bad, but the pads may be a little trashed. I don't see anything too stupid right off the bat. Oxygen sensors are all there. Alright, for being a New Jersey car, for a little bit of its life, it appears to have survived fairly well. No notable corrosion, which is nice. Very good. Alright, let's see. Let's see here. What else we got? Got anything interesting in the front? there's the cat, motor mount. I still do not see a transmission dipstick anywhere, which I don't quite understand, but who's to say? I have to get the service info for this thing and see what we need to do. Yeah, at least it has a drain plug, which is nice. So yeah, this looks fairly unmolested up front. I don't see any real wrinkles. Yeah, I think a little missing chunk of the wheel liner there, but yeah, it's not too bad. Yeah, looks pretty good. I'll have to test these fans, make sure they work. It doesn't seem to overheat. It seems to run good. I heard a little bit of noise from what I thought was one of these CV joints when we were driving it, but it didn't seem too bad. Nice bolt-on ball joints, just like the Honda. That's good. The bushings are getting a little bit cruddy in there, but not too bad. I think they'll live for a while longer. Yeah, I'm fairly pleased so far. So, it's interesting that oil filter's leaking. Probably didn't change an O-ring or something stupid. So, we'll go with that. Looks like we're going to need to buy a special tool for ye olde Toyotas. But otherwise, seems pretty good. Tires are not great. It's got 3 different brands on it. General's in the front, a Continental on the right rear, and I think a Michelin on the left rear. Oh no, a Bridgestone on the left rear. And that Bridgestone is serviceable. The Continental is serviceable. This one's starting to get a little bit suspect. Let's see what this one says. And this one's even worse. And it's got potentially some alignment issues, so we'll have to check on that once we get in there, because this tire's a little smoked on the left edge. Strut looks good. Yeah, that strut looks okay. If we can see the rears. Oh yeah, there they are. That one looks alright. Oh, disc brakes in the back. See a little bit of corrosion on there, but not too bad. Yeah, that strut's okay. The boot's a little torn, but that's nothing. Discs don't look too bad. The brakes felt good as far as the pedals doesn't pulsate or anything. They don't shake, they don't grind, but it is really, really mushy. I'm wondering if it just needs to be bled, or if possible, these pins might be stuck a little bit back here, these pin slider pins. So we're going to probably have to free all that up. That may be all it takes. But yeah, so pretty good so far. I'm pretty happy with that. So we need an air filter, a cabin filter, and I think the oil was just changed a little bit ago. We'll double check it. And then we're going to look at what we need to do for a transmission filter, because it actually has a Toyota air filter in it, so the last time that was changed was probably by a dealer. And that's really pretty much it. I mean, this is not attached terribly well, so there's some missing stuff under there, and again, this light's broken. But no leaks. I think I got a good one. It's kind of a tough market because the market's starting to drop, so you don't want to pay what these guys are asking, but they have the cars, and they're probably in them for more than they should be because they've had to buy them over the last, several months to a year, and so they've paid too much for them. But, it is what it is. I needed a vehicle. This is what I was looking for. It was either this or an Accord, and here we are. So I'm pretty pleased. So we're going to go do a little bit of research, see what we need to do. Alright, so we stumbled down to the local O'Reilly's. Picked up a new air filter, which looks to be about right. and a few other things. Where does it go? Doesn't really say which direction goes where, but get her in there, and there's a corner in this box somewhere. Okay, there it is. Seems to be this way. Yeah. What in the world? Oh, there it is. Alright, the square corner goes in the back. Get that in there. Alright, that was easy. Now let's do the cabin filter. Alright, so we got this with the up. Get that thing in there. Get all the little covers back on. This also says up. That's that one. And that one. There. That's good. That was fairly easy. What is this? Oh, little trunk, little light. Cute. Of course it's out, but it's cute nonetheless. Also noticed we had a high beam out on one side, so I got a pair of those. Those are 9005s. Let's get that guy up here. If you can. Nope. Alright. There it goes. Guess we'll screw him in first and then plug him in. There it goes. One. Alright, so we can unplug this guy. There it goes. Yep, she's a bit smoked. Is that on? Well, that's kind of weird. That may explain why it's smoked. The car is off and the key isn't in it and the lights are off, and that is on. Alright, now they're all on. I don't think that's right. Okay, well, we got a little bit of a wiring issue there. Let's unplug this guy if we can find it again. I'm gonna have to do a little troubleshooting. See why I got a hot when I ain't supposed to have a hot. That's probably why that one's burned, because it just stayed on all the time. Interesting. Well, we'll save that for later. Back in a minute. Also noticed that the license plate lights were out. So, not really knowing how those come out. Looks like I can get to them pretty easy if I pop this off, which has a bunch of these little pop the center up Christmas trees. Maybe. There we go. So we're going to run around, get all of those, and then we'll get to those lights. Alright, once you get all 72 of those off, we can get up here and see what we got. Looks like, okay, looks like we can unplug that and unplug that, and I think those are gonna, yeah, they got little latches on them. We'll have to depress and then they'll push straight through. So I'm gonna go try to get something to do that with without breaking them. Let's see, got a little bitty screwdriver here. There it goes. Okay. All right, and then we kind of come out. Hanging up on something. Yeah, we'll be back in a minute. Alright, so once it's out, this, you can pry it off real gingerly on the side, and it pops off, and there's your lamp. But to get it out of here is a little snug. But you see this notch right here? That has to line up with this part of the clip perfectly when it comes out and it goes through that notch. But after that, you should be able to just pop the old lamp out, stick the new one in, put her back, and she'll be good. And there, after you're done, you got a couple of lights, so now we're legal. Now we'll just slap this thing back up there, put all the infinity of push pins back in it, and we are done with those. Alright, well, we got new windshield wipers on it, and yeah, that doesn't look great. That may be a little bit of our alignment issue. We'll see. Otherwise, it doesn't seem to be any play in anything. These, that's kind of nice. They just have some press off. They aren't screwed in like a lot of Japanese cars, which is handy. They all move nice. But there is no dipstick in this transmission. It has a fill tube which sticks up underneath that plug on the bottom. And then you pull that out to drain it. And then there's supposedly a fill nozzle or an opening up here somewhere. So let's pop these little guys off. Come on, boy. Yep, there it is. That's the filler. Interesting. Looks like somebody may have done this before, but that's all right. So that's the filler and that's the drainer. And we got to pull the drain and then pull the tube above that, which should let it drain. Then we can pull the pan, 19 bolts. There is an 18 bolt pan. This is the 19 bolt pan. Got to make sure you get the right filter. And then we should be able to get our gasket and filter and get everything cleaned up, get it all put back together, and fill her back up. So let's see, I'm going to get ready with a pan and a couple of Allen heads, Allen's keys, and we will see what we can do. Alright, so we got this plug. Let's see if we can, good night, crack that off with a 6mm. Now this is the fill level plug, And above that is another tube you have to take out, which sticks up into the pan, and when it's hot, that's what you do, is you fill it until this is done dripping, until it drips, and then you put the plug back in. And yeah, judging by the color of this garbage, this is well worth doing. So we're gonna crack loose the upper one, maybe that'll drain a little quicker, and go from there. I probably should have done that, cracked the fill before I cracked the drain. Oops. Hopefully it comes off. Alright, well, the fill tube, which is a 24 mil, spun off pretty good. And now, pull this out, let the rest of it drain. And drop it in the pan, of course. Ain't that something? Alright, well, we're going to let that drain, and we'll be back. While that trans was draining, I'm popping the wheels off, getting ready to bleed the brakes, and I found this. It's not the ball joints. That's just, I don't know, wallered out, not tight. We'll see. I'm going to try to get a couple of wrenches on this and see if it'll snug up. That was different. That may be why my tires are wearing funny, which would be nice. Alright, got a 19 on this and a 21 on that. And we were able to snug that up. Now everything's nice and tight. Sway bar link's pretty good. Give those a look. Yep. Okay, everything's good there. What about in the back? Now that we've exposed some of this nonsense. Everything seems pretty good. Yeah, I would say these are original, but they've been off for one reason or another, because that's not where it started. But we'll give the brake pads a look-see in a little bit, see what we got. I think they look pretty good, but we'll see. Now we're going to get back onto the transmission. Alright, so now this is the fill level tube, which is just a little tiny hunk of plastic with a hex in it. And that is up above the actual drain plug, which I'm just going to stick the drain plug back in there to stop it from dripping a little bit. See if we can bust this pan off. And there are going to be a couple of bolts that I cannot get to with normal means. Let's see if we can get to them with a little ratchety wrench. That seems to be a no. Okay. Not quite sure how I'm going to get those off. We need a... I don't know. We'll find out. But anyway, let's bust the rest of them. Woo, little guys. They're not coming off that hard. I just have this thing on the lowest setting. And looks like they got Loctite on them from the factory. That one was a little interesting. And we got a lot of bolts. $19. Leave one on that end, in case it decides to exit the building. It's funny, some aren't tight at all, and some are ridiculous. Alright, I'm going to go try to see what I have to get those last two, and then we'll drop the pan. Alright, got a 10 millimeter on a 1/4 inch with a little tiny extension. I got that one. Maybe a 1/4 inch universal on a slightly longer extension. God almighty. We'll get the other one. I'm gonna go try to get that. Okay, I was able to get that one out by taking this wrench and going up over the cross member. It would just barely grab it. I was able to break it loose. I put one more bolt back in up front to hold it, and I was able to back it out with my pinkies up in here. That's, yeah, not the best, but not too bad. So, it did start coming down. So we're going to get the bucket back and pop those last two bolts off and see how big a mess I can make on the camera. My guess is that the 18 bolt pan is just this 19 bolt pan with that one left off. Oh boy. Let's see if she'll drain. Nope. Alright, well, it doesn't have too much in it. Let's push that back up. Try not to dump it on my face. That's the last one. Get out of there. It won't get out of there. Alright, so let's see if we can take it down. Splash into the pan, into my face, into everything. Yuck. And dripping. Okay. There she is. That is kind of dirty. Alright. So we're going to let that drip for a little while. Looks like the gasket came off. The surface looks good. And take a look in the pan. Alright, so we popped the gasket off. Nothing major there. A little bit of schmoo on the magnets. But generally, especially because I don't know that this has ever been serviced, I think that's pretty good. You can see this is where the little tube sticks up above that. That sets your level when you fill it. Yep. Pan feels pretty good. So we're going to give this a good clean, and then we will get ready to start putting her back. Alright, so there's our filter. A bit of a mess we can make here. Oh boy. Yeah, more gunk. Hopefully that didn't get on the camera. Ooh. Nasty. Yeah, that's pretty gross. Alright. Dab up a little more of that. O-ring. Still looks like an O-ring. Get this new boy in place. There she goes. The O-ring's holding it up, which is nice. Put these guys back. I'm going to have to go look at what the torque spec on these is, because I'm pretty sure it's not too ugga-duggas. Get them snugged up, though. Alright. And that's pretty much it. Now we're going to go find the torque spec for that, find the torque spec for all the pan bolts, and I guess start putting it back together. Alright, the two bolts for the filter are 85 inch-pounds. right there. And right there. And all of the pan bolts are 66. So, we're going to go try to get this silliness of a gasket in place and see what we can do. This might be a mess, but we're going to try. Alright, so now we're going to do something that we need to do here before we put the pan on. Give it a little blast. Try to blot up some of this stuff that keeps leaking onto my gasket surface. What I have found is the factory gasket is metally and the new one is rubbery, is that the new one, the holes in it are small enough to grab onto all the bolts. So we're going to try to put this in and line it up really carefully. Get a bolt or two started. And then work our way around till they're all started and snug them down. And then torque them up. That's about it for this one. This should be hopefully semi-painless. They seem to be all starting. I guess I can get rid of this bucket before I dump my head in it. I'll do that with what's on the floor. Try to make sure I haven't cross-threaded any. I don't think I have yet. Because these bad boys will certainly snap off, I am sure of it. The one that came out hard is still tight, still snug going in. There. Okay, the only one I got left is this stupid one. We're going to try to snug that one up first, if we can. And that is, that is annoying. That one fastener. But, all right, well, we're going to snug this up and we'll be back. Alright, so that's all torqued. Took about 3 rounds to get them to stay at proper torque setting, but they're all done. I'm going to pop this little guy off, and we're going to stick this little guy back up there. It actually has a torque setting, and it's not tight. Basically goes till it stops and you're done. Done. We're going to put this guy back on. Not that one. Dummy. Try this one. Alright. Now we're going to go read how to refill it. Alright, this little Toyota thinks it's a Mercedes or something. Got a 13-page procedure on how to set the level in that transmission. The gist of it comes down to, I think what I'm going to do is measure what came out after I get that out from under there and put that back in, and then we're going to start the procedure, which hopefully my scan tool can do, because you have to have a special scan tool to be able to get into a special temperature setting procedure in order to be able to check the level at precisely 113 degrees Fahrenheit oil temperature. So that's going to be entertaining. So I think I'm going to go figure out what I'm going to need to be able to add fluid to this disaster. Probably going to be a pump. I think I still have one somewhere. And then we're going to measure some fluid and put some fluid in and start this process. Alright, using the bucket that I still have left over from when I did the Dodge, we have just over, right at about 3 quarts came out. And look at that. That is some black nasty. I don't think this has ever been done. So this is a good thing. So we're going to put 3 quarts back in it. And then see what we do. See if I can get into the computer and force the scan tool to do this procedure. Let's hope. Alright, so we got my jug of oil, my transfer pump, and going up into there. So we're going to pump 3 quarts into this thing and then start the procedure. Alright, well, we got a little over 3 quarts in it, no leaks. So we're going to see, I guess it would help if I put the damn light on. We're going to see if the scan tool has this ability. I'm betting it will, but let's go find out. Alright, well, this thing doesn't have ability to do the transmission reset, but basically reading on it, what it does is forces you to run the transmission, putting it in drive, holding the brake, putting it in drive, putting it in reverse, putting it in drive, putting it in reverse, blah, 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 to get the fluid flowing. And then when it gets to 95 degrees temperature, you go in there and you pull that bottom drain plug and let that tube in, leave the tube in there, and once it dribbles all the way out, or if it doesn't dribble out enough, then you put some in until it starts dribbling out, and that's your level. So I found the automatic temperature, transmission oil temperature, in the engine computer, ECM. So we're going to fire this thing up. Put it in reverse, drive, reverse, drive. And she's coming up quick. $89 degrees. 90 degrees. $92. 95. Okay, now we'll put that thing in park and go pull the plug. See what comes out. Oh. There it is. Let's see. Okay, not enough. We're gonna add some more until it comes out. I think I may have to go get some more fluid. Yep. Alright, let's go check the temperature. See where we're at. Alright, well that wasn't too bad. It only got up to like 104. But I'm out of fluid and it still needs more. So I'm going to have to go either see if I have any of this or run back into town and get another couple of quarts. And keep adding, because apparently she was kind of low. So we're getting there. Alright, so the temperature has just now reached 113. And I put about another 3/4 of a quart in it, fired it back up, and pulled that plug, and it peed out maybe about 6 ounces or so, and then it stopped. So I put the plug back in on the bottom. Now I'm going to see whatever I did with that top plug. Here it is. Turn the light on, dummy. Get you in there. Snug that baby down. And we're done. Neat. Alright, now that's done, I'm trying to figure out my squishy pedal, and I think I may have an idea. And this one won't even turn, and the boots are ruptured. So those pins are completely stuck. Pads look fantastic, as you can see, but the pins are stuck. So I'm going to see if they have a little kit with these boots, since they're garbage, and maybe run back into town and grab some of that. Alright, so we got our little boot kit. I'm trying to get this nightmare out of there. Yeah, she's a little dry. But the bottom one wasn't even turning. That one would kind of turn. So, oh my. Okay, we may need to put, oh boy. Yeah, that's definitely a problem. Yeah. I don't know if I can heat it. I really don't want to hit it with an impact, because if I break it off, then I gotta drill it or get a new caliber bracket, and I don't want to do that. Let me go get that torch. Oh my God. Wow. Alright, well, I'm gonna try the big guns. Alright, everything went flying. Pads came out, springs took off, but she's spinning. May yet need the impact chisel to get that thing out. Wow. She is stuck. Okay. But it's free. So I just got to figure out how to put some pull on it, maybe while I'm turning it. That started it moving. Well, maybe it'll come out. Yep. Woo! That is kind of hot, but there it is. Ow! Good gracious. I think now that the brake pads have fallen off, I am going to pull this out so I can get a drill down in there and just kind of clean that out, because that's a disaster. So, alright, back in a few. Alright, so the kit comes with the new boots, which seem to be press-in, and 4 of these, which, I'll be damned if I even know where they go. I see where it goes on one of them, which was the one that came out real hard, but we'll see if there's any more of them. Or maybe there's 2 of them on here and I can't even see the other one. Who knows? We will see. Alright, so got those, just pounded those off. Now we're going to just kind of get some of that gunk out of there. Don't look too bad. We'll scuff those up with some sandpaper. Now we got to deal with this mess. So, I guess I'm going to start with a razor blade, I suppose. Yeah, this thing is crispy. This is definitely the cause of our brake issue. They didn't have these pins in stock, or I would have bought them. Now let's see if we can clean this up. It almost looks like it's a... she's got a couple of flat spots on it on purpose by the looks. Yep. Okay, yeah, a little more cleanup. That one's going to be nice. Now, let's see what we can do with this disaster. It also has some flat spots on it. Not perfect, but that one, with some sanding and getting some sandpaper down in there, probably going to be good enough. So we're going to go get some emery cloth and clean up those holes, clean up the pins a little bit more, see if we can get this thing together. Alright, well, we got them. They move again. They're not great. I think the next time this thing needs brakes, I'm going to do full caliper brackets. Well, at least brackets. Calipers seem to be alright. Brackets and pins, because these are really kind of crusty internally. But we got some super duper lube. First thing we're going to do is smooge that on there, like so. I'm going to try to take one of these little guys and boop, get him on there where he's supposed to go and splooge him up pretty good. See how that works. it's going to be a little snug. Come on. Yeah, looks like it's going to work though. Alright, let's put a whole bunch of that in there. And now I guess what we're going to do is, these seem to be all the same size. Yep. Is it just going to wipe the grease off of it? It sure is. Alright, interesting. I think what we're going to do is we're going to put this lube down in it and swirl it around a little bit, because when this goes on, it's going to wipe all the lube right off of this thing. So I'm going to go find a socket that I can use to pound this in. It's almost got it. There she goes. Alright. Let's gloop up that one. Alright. Got it. Alright, let's glob up these a little bit. See if we can get this guy in there without jamming. That's the one with the bushing. Come on, baby. I think it's got some air in it at this point. Yep. I may have hydraulicked it. It may have too much grease. Alright. Come on. Get in there. Alright. Now she's in. We'll just need a pick to get the boot on the pin. Let's see if this one will go in any better. Yep. Woohoo! Alright, that one went right on. This one, I'm gonna have to squeeze in a little bit. This one's still pretty sticky. I don't like it. But we're gonna go crank that down to see if we can get it to go in properly. Alright, she's in. This guy's in. We'll go mount her back on the car and set it back up. Just reverse of what we did to take it off. Alright, she's back on. And that's what you want to see. Alright, I think that's gonna help a lot. So now we're just gonna repeat that on all the rest of the corners. Alright, well, got the front brakes all freed up. Checked the rears, they're still moving. Fired it up, squished on the pedal a little bit. Got rid of all of that travel. So I think that was my only issue there. Boy, those bottom pins on these front wheels were hammered stuck. Good night. But now that's probably a legacy of the year it spent in New Jersey as a rental. We don't see that a lot down here. but I think we're in pretty good shape. The only thing I got left is to polish the headlights and troubleshoot my other headlight. I'll make a separate video of troubleshooting that because this is getting real long, I'm guessing. So why did I buy this thing from a dealer? Because, I mean, the main reason is for what I paid for it and now what I've got into it to make it effectively what I would consider perfect. I would have paid more for a junk auction car with a salvage title, and this has a clean title. The auction cars are still absolutely insane with the fees and then the diesel and everything else that I would have to spend to go get it, and then the unknowns because you have no clue. It just wasn't worth it at this point. Maybe I'll do another one at some point, but right now if I need a little car, I'm just going to go to the little car lots around here and see what I need, because this one's pretty nice and I got to drive it, and it's so far maybe 300 bucks into making everything perfect, which isn't too bad. Might need a set of tires in the next 6 months, but otherwise I think she's going to be really good. Oh yeah, we got to strip that stupid tint off. Maybe I'll make a video on how I try to do that. That's going to be a nightmare. But anyway, this has gotten pretty long. If you've stuck with me the whole way, I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much, and hope you're all having a good day. Take care.